welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here today and just coming to hang out for another video. If you guys have been watching the videos so far, thank you guys so much. We're about 3 months into posting, so if you haven't already, go ahead and get caught up on some of the videos. Today I'm going to be talking about trying times because I'm in one, and one of my seeds of intentions this time is to not isolate. So today I'm going to give you guys a little life update, as well as talk about some tips that have been really helpful for trying turbulent times in the past. And then I also wanted to share with you guys some of my intentions to go through this season of turbulent times ahead. So before we get into the video, I don't think I've ever showed you guys my office before. It's a little bit messy, but we're gonna showcase it today. Here's Steven's surfboards. Over here is my desk, computer, got all my hard drives, sticky notes, things of that sort. And then over here, you've got all of the gear tucked away. And then I'm in the middle of redoing my inspo board. So this is one that I made at the beginning of the year. This one is feeling all of the spring vibes, just amazing vibes. So in the past during the season, I've kind of shelled up, and I wanted to really set an intention to not do that this season and just see what that brings me, because I feel like 9 times out of 10, when I put myself out there, I get huge rewards, even though it's scary. So that is what I'm doing right now. So without further ado, we will get into it. Actually, hold up. Before we get into it, I did want to say that if you are going through a really turbulent time and it's lasted for a really long time, it's getting really unsurmountable, please go to therapy, get help. That's something that I didn't do for a really long time whenever I had a traumatic experience. And it really created a complicated situation for me that I feel like I didn't have to go through. So if you're in a time that is really unsurmountable, please get external help, because having somebody that's more than a friend that can help sit with you and process emotions and things that are really difficult for you to sit with yourself, and to give you the right resources and the right guidance and just a different outside perspective can be so helpful. So another thing to note is that if you went to one therapist and it didn't work out, keep trying, because that's another thing. I went to probably 3 therapists before I found someone that I really connected with that really helped me get over into the next phase of recovery for me. So if you're going through that, really don't put it off. If you know that you're going just through a difficult time, that you'll get over it and that it hasn't been that long or it hasn't been too difficult for you, this is a good video to kind of give you some extra resources to help you feel a little bit more supported during a time that you extra need that. So before we get into the tips, I wanted to give you guys a life update. My last video was around my birthday time, which was February 16th, and now today is March 16th, so it's a month later, and let me tell ya, a lot has happened in a month. It was crazy. So we went to a work trip on Oahu. We served Vibe Hotel Waikiki and Prince Waikiki Hotel, and we came back from that trip, and I thought it went so well. I wasn't feeling awful physically or anything. And then we got back and we had cleaned and put away our stuff, and I went with Steven to go get some lunch at some food trucks. And so we were sitting there talking, waiting for our food to arrive. We were talking about food, and I remember the first thought I had was kind of this nausea of ugh, what a gross thought. And then like that, I woke up on the ground and I had passed out. This had happened to me once 5 years ago, and I actually had a seizure, and I didn't go to the doctor because I was just 19 and just really wasn't prioritizing my health like I should have. And so I ended up going to the doctor this time, and I didn't have a seizure, but they took the seizure that I had 5 years ago a little bit more seriously than they took me passing out. So I got blood work done. I got about 7 tests ran, and I haven't been to my appointment, which will be in a couple weeks, and they will review the blood work with me and we'll see what's going on with all of that. So that's been kind of like sitting on the back burner of my mind every morning. Like I haven't been actually like working out because of it, because it just came on so suddenly. Like both times I didn't have any like much warning at all. So I've been really nervous about driving, about going on walks even, because like I could just literally like fall. And both times that I did pass out, Steven was there, so it was really good to like have somebody catch me. And so I've been really nervous just to like go do activities. So that has definitely contributed to like a little bit of like the blues. And then life just kind of like business situation after business situation, as those things often happen. I mean, things go really great, and then sometimes things can just go really downhill. So we've been experiencing that lately. And I forget who said this, and I'm hoping I get the quote kind of correct, but there's a quote that stuck with me literally for years and years that's been along the lines of, entrepreneurship is kind of like eating shards of glass and staring into the abyss. And I kind of feel that way sometimes, where it's like it is really, really hard, and you have to stick with the mentality of like gratitude and appreciation for your situation to begin with, and for the opportunity to come out of failure. You know, like lots of times like failure will be asking us like if we want to keep going. There's like a quote about that. And it kind of goes hand in hand with that, where it's like, yeah, you can be literally swallowing shards of glass, staring into the abyss, waiting for one day that things will take off, or you can also just bring yourself back down to reality of this is progress, even if it doesn't feel like it, even if it doesn't look like it to me at this point. So having that perspective that sometimes entrepreneurship is just hard helps. So because of all of the chaos that's been happening, and with like my health and with our business, I kind of haven't realized that I'm approaching spring. And for me, spring is a huge anniversary of a traumatic loss for me. My dad passed away to suicide when I was 15, approaching 11 years ago. So this time period has always been just like an abrupt, like my body is so conditioned to like it usually starts around my birthday. So February 16th is kind of like the set off for this like long kind of like seasonal, I call it seasonal depression because for me it lasts a whole season, but it's not the traditional season dependent depression. For me it's just one season of life. I know it's not my season, and that's like what I've come to. This week is, you know, like I'll always kind of forget, and I'll be like, I'm gonna overcome it this year. I'm gonna overcome the grief. I'm gonna get out of the cycle. And then it's almost like I'll always like hit a wall. I'll think that I'm experiencing burnout with work, and I'll think that work is like too much on my plate. But then I'll look at my plate and be like, oh wait, there's not so much that I haven't been able to handle. It's that I'm having issues handling what's normal for my plate, you know? So I'll get tricked into thinking that I'm burned out, but really it's like I haven't realized that, oh yeah, it's March, and as much as I feel like every year I heal so much, I'm like, oh, next year it's gonna be so much better. Like I'm not gonna feel this way. I'm gonna be so much, you know, I've done all this work so that next year I'll feel better. And that's just not the way grief works. You can't really like overcome grief. It's just cyclical, and it'll come back, and we process it, and it does get easier, but it isn't something that you can just kind of like clean your hands with and walk away from. So that's what I've been experiencing lately. This week is just like it came to a halt, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, so this is what's happening. And I feel like that's just in general, that's like the number one step when you're going through a difficult time, is accepting it. Like there comes to a point where we think we like blame ourselves, or I always do this. I always like blame myself for not doing enough, for letting things slide, for things getting out of my control. And then there comes to be a point where I have to step back and say, you know, things are out of my control, and that's okay, and it's not my fault that things are out of my control, you know, like that's just the way life works. That's human life, you know? So that perspective shift of just accepting and just surrendering, like, oh yeah, this is not my time right now, and that's okay. So now I'm going to switch my gears into like, how can I support myself during this time to get through it, and to really look forward to like what's going to be on the other side of that. My symptoms in May are kind of just like this feeling of being in my current life now, but mentally being so focused on like the past kind of popping up like popcorn, right? So I can be, sitting like I'll be having situations that are happening in my adult life, but they'll be triggering so many things from the past that every morning in my morning pages I'll just be writing out, stories from my high school experience, or observations that I had about my parents in childhood, or just like all these emotions and things that are heavy to process, but they'll just kind of be popping off throughout my day. And in addition to that, I feel just kind of like this general lethargy that will go in and out throughout the day, like especially if life gets really overwhelming. Like I had a day last week where I remember just like things were getting so stressful, I just needed to just take a break and just mentally sit still to just remind myself that that's the situation, and it has nothing to do with me, it's the situation. So that's another one of my, I guess, symptoms. Another symptom for me is having issues with my sleep. It's actually been a lot better this year than it has been in years past. In years past, like I'll kind of get into this pattern where I'll wake up at like 4 a.m. and just be in these like really difficult thoughts and really like anxious headspace, and then I'll just end up like watching TV until morning, and then I'm exhausted all day, and it's just a really bad cycle. This time it's been a little bit better, but I've just been waking up throughout the night a lot, and just not getting really quality sleep. So those are all symptoms that are like encompassed in the trauma anniversary, that my body is just so conditioned into expecting and just experiencing all of that again. And I think it does have a purpose. Like I feel like I am constantly experiencing it again to process it in a new light. It's almost like because my dad passed away, it doesn't mean that he's not still teaching me things, and it doesn't mean that he doesn't still require my time and my attention. We just have this relationship in a different way, So before we hop into the tips, like I just want to kind of reiterate that my number one kind of like advice for all difficult times is you have to accept the full package of what you're experiencing and going through, and accept the full package of emotions, because I'm telling you, I've tried time and time and time again to shut off all of the emotions, to cancel all of it out, say like, no, I'm not experiencing the pain this year. I'm not putting myself through that. And what I can say is that when you shut off one emotion, like you do, it's true, you shut off all of the emotions. It's just no way to live. So I'm realizing that that's not an option, that accepting the whole package of feelings is like the only action that can be done is to surrender to all of these emotions. And in that place, I can find my power to make my choices again and to respond versus reacting. So I like to think about these trying difficult times as like a guest that is couch crashing in your head. So if you were having a guest that is couch crashing with you, you wouldn't get up every morning and just go straight into work, because if you did that, your guest might come in and interrupt you all throughout the day, asking for favors, asking for food, asking for tips, transportation, anything that they may need. So it might be better to, instead of going straight into work, spending time giving attention to your guests, making sure that they're fed breakfast, that they have a good plan throughout the day, that they have their transportation, everything figured out, and then you can go ahead and get to work. So that's how I like to view these kind of trying times. So let's get into some helpful tips that have worked in the past. So I like to start off all of my mornings doing 2 to 3 pages of morning pages, which is based off of The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. And basically you just do like a mental dump of anything and everything. You like rest on the page, you get excited on the page, you express just anything, so that you can kind of start being in control of the person that censors your thoughts. And it kind of puts like your higher power more like seated in charge, and kind of like hushes the critic that's always like making chitter chatter in the back of your head. And then something else that is really helpful is future self journaling. If I have the time and the mental energy to do that, I will do kind of like an affirmation, some intention of a habit or a behavior that I want to shift. I will go ahead and write out like the person who I want to be, will enjoy more of blank, and kind of just set some like intention seeds for my day to try to help me be more aware of the person that I want to be and how I can get there. So both of those things have been really helpful, and I do those just like all year long. Something else that I do year round but will pay special attention to during trying times is meditation. And Steven, my husband, he loves doing just like meditation by himself. I love doing guided meditations. And something that I think is really helpful with guided meditations is I will kind of choose what I feel like I need that day. So for instance, some days I might be less motivated. I'm like, okay, I want to do a meditation with my higher power, my higher self, to get a little motivated, to like get a little bit of confidence back, and to really like focus on my intentions and goals for the day. If I'm in a time like this and it's a difficult time, I will do a meditation for difficult times or for healing past trauma. If it's a normal day and I'm just really wanting to stay focused and grounded, I'll just look for a meditation on staying focused and grounded. But typically I'll pick a time frame that I want, which for me, if I'm like busy and life's, you know, bustling, I'll do a 15-minute meditation, and that's what I feel like I need to just get grounded and to set myself up for the day. But I found it's really helpful to find a specific meditation. So I'm asking myself like, what do I need in this moment? And then I'm responding and giving myself that, which I do feel like almost like builds a trust with yourself of like, okay, like I have myself as a parent, I have myself as someone to like look out for my own needs and to be aware of what that is and respond accordingly. Something that helped me during like the 1 and 2 years that were the worst for me was breathwork, and I can't recommend this enough if you are in a highly anxious state. Oh, you guys look, hold on, let's take a break here to see. This is our cat Finn. I say he's our cat, but he's the neighborhood cat. Oh, he sees something. Okay, so sorry, where were we? So if you're in a really anxious space, breathwork can be really, really helpful. One that I tried a couple years ago that really got me through really trying times was alternate nostril breathing. So you like breathe in one side of your nose and then switch nostrils to breathe out. Utilizing breath work really helps calm your nervous system, helps oxygenate your body, and just really helps relieve the stress on just like a bodily physical level. Same for exercising. I've found that when I've been at like peak stress levels, sometimes I like to reel it back and I will just do things that are really good for my mental health that are just physically active. So that might be a long run, that might be just a yoga session, that might be just like meditation in a yoga session, just stretching and stuff. Whatever is most like restorative for me at that time is what I do and what I listen to. As long as I'm getting active and I'm moving, that can show up and look differently in trying times than in times that aren't so trying. So also volunteering during difficult times can also be really helpful. This was a tip that my therapist gave me, just that, you know, sometimes we can get so caught up in our own problems and our own like small box of life that we can lose perspective. And volunteering, getting out of your comfort zone, helping others is just a really good way to like hit a reset on just that box of like being stuck in your own problems. So the next thing would be eating healthy. I think the first thing to go when you're in a difficult time is taking care of yourself with eating and all of that. It just kind of seems on the back burner, but at the same time, like when you're going through something hard, like you need that extra support, you need that sustained energy. So that leads me to my suggestion for meal prep. Meal prep is something that has completely changed our life this year. I was always struggling with not being able to keep up with food prep and shopping and wasting food and eating out. It was just like a mess for us in our home life, and meal prep like has completely solved that. I will come up with our grocery list on Friday night. Steven shops for it on Sunday. I do the meal prep on Sunday night, and then we have food for like the entire week pretty much. So that's been really helpful to just like set aside one day to really prioritize setting up the week of healthy eating. So if you're going through a difficult time, definitely keep in the forefront of your mind that you need to be drinking water, you need to be eating healthy foods that are nourishing your body, but also it doesn't have to be that difficult. Like find a way to take that stress off your plate if you can. And this is also really affordable and achievable. So If you need some meal prep blogs, you know where to find them. And my last tip that has really helped in the past is to just be sure that you're asking for help if you really need to ask for help. I think that we are sometimes living in this, or I'm sometimes living in this headspace of asking for help isn't an option, that it equals like ultimate failure or something. And I think that it's just good to keep in mind that you are not an issue, even though you might be having and experiencing a lot of issues in life, you know? So when you're in this headspace, it might seem like you need to be strong and have a strong front, but what you actually might need and what might be in the best interest of you and everyone around you is to just ask for help. Be transparent about how you're feeling. Just see what happens. Ask for help if you feel like you need it, because I think that we live in a world where we do want to help each other. If we can help each other, it's like an opportunity. So if you're feeling like kind of closed off, like you don't want to ask for help, maybe rethink it and see if you can come at it mentally with a different perspective, that maybe this person that can help you wants to help you. So that wraps up what's been helpful for me in the past. If you guys have made it this far in the video, thank you guys so much. Go ahead and like and subscribe this video if you want. If you'd like more content on this topic, go ahead and share that below. If you'd like more content on different topics, share that as well. Any of the advice and guidance helps me a ton. Now we will head into the intentions that I have for this next season. So as I said, I like to do meditation after my workouts. But I've decided, since I'm going through a tougher season, I'm actually going to add some breath work at the end of my meditation. So maybe that lasts like 5 minutes or so of the meditation. Something else that I really want to try this year is to be sure that I'm not isolating online. It just doesn't feel in full alignment for me and for how I want to show up and express myself. So I want to show up in the times that I'm not feeling great, and I want to give people what I'm giving to myself in those times. With that being said, if you know that social media is something that is triggering for you and that makes life more difficult, maybe make a mental initiative to not go on social media for that season. For me, I feel more stressed when I'm not posting, I'm not expressing myself. It makes me kind of sad, because it's something that I enjoy. It's something that lights me up. It makes me feel really inspired each day. So for me, it kind of adds stress to my plate whenever I stop doing something that normally gives me a lot of joy. This year, I also just want to keep working on trying to show up to my emotions versus resisting them. And something that was really helpful I found this year is you can actually do guided meditations on feeling your emotions, because for some of us, me included, that is so difficult. I want to run away from them so badly. And oftentimes I do, with just bad habits, with neglecting certain things, with ignoring things, with putting my eggs in other baskets that they should not be in currently. I will be so good at distracting myself to not feel emotions, when all I should be doing is paying attention to those emotions so that they can be processed. Guru Singh always says the opposite of depressed is to express. So when you're feeling really low, be sure that you are not shelling up, that you're expressing, that you're getting it out. You need that stuff out of your system. Don't keep the toxicity in. Be sure to express it in a good way. And if creativity is that for you, I feel like creativity is for everyone. So if you like to engage in creativity, now is your time to express yourself to the fullest. Thank you guys so much for making it this far, for being here along in the journey with me. If there are any resources that have been really helpful for you in the past that I didn't mention in this video, please go ahead and share them with us below, and you can help our community feel supported to shine together. Thank you guys so much, and until the next video, I wish you guys all the best and hope you guys have incredible days ahead.